Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're having a wonderful day, a wonderful Friday. It is Friday, which means a whole bunch of new music just dropped. And The Killers. The Killers. Don't get me started. I have been listening to The Killers since 2004. When I was a teenager, Hot Fuss, I was all over Hot Fuss. That was my album back in the day. And then Sam's Town, and then Day and Age, and then what came after that? Battleboard, unfortunately, was when I kind of stopped listening to The Killers. Not because I didn't like them anymore, but just because, I don't know, I was discovering new music at the time, and I just kind of wanted to listen to other artists. So I didn't really listen to The Killers after Battleboard. I haven't listened to their 2017 album, Wonderful, Wonderful, yet, so I definitely want to do a first listen video for that album. It has been a while since I did a Killers video on this channel. Last year, I did upload an album review video for their debut album, Hot Fuss. It was more so a jam session video where I was just listening to one of my favorite albums again and also reviewing it. That was way back in 2019. I also want to do the rest of their albums on this channel, and I will. I don't know when, but I will. I don't know if you guys have been in a similar situation like myself where a new band comes out and they're brand new, you're obsessed with them, and then they come out with their second album and their third album, and you buy them, you listen to them religiously, and then for whatever reason, you just lose interest and you stop listening to them, and then you don't buy their fourth album and then their fifth album. And then miraculously, down the line, after a few years, you return back to them and you kind of kick yourself for falling out with them and for not listening to them as long as you should have. That's what happened to me with The Killers after Battleboard. I just lost interest and I just faded away from their music. And now in 2020, I'm suddenly interested in their music again, and I want to go back into their discography and listen to all their albums again. But anyway, I am looking at the track list, and there are 10 tracks, and the album is 42 minutes, and I don't recall hearing any of these songs yet, so this is a true first listen video. But of course, if I start listening to a song and it sounds familiar, I'll let you guys know. So I'm so excited. Let's get into it with track number 1, My Own Soul's Warning. Okay, and that was track number 1, My Soul's Warning. I absolutely loved it. Going into a Killers album, I always look forward to reading the lyrics. I always find them so interesting. I always find the Killers lyrics quite cryptic at times. There are multiple occasions where I have to reread the lyrics just to fully grasp what they're trying to say. But the production, I absolutely loved it. You saw for yourself, I was dancing like a crazy man, and it was just a lot of fun. Another thing I really enjoyed about The Killers when I was listening to them nonstop was how consistent their albums were, in my opinion. Whenever a new Killers album came out, you could just never go wrong with it. It was always very consistent, and I always knew I would like the album with their debut Hot Fuss and then Sam's Town. Sam's Town was very interesting. I got my mom to buy it for me. I was in high school and I really wanted it, and it was on the day that it dropped. I forget the year it came out, 2006. So yes, it was September 27th, 2006, and that was the exact day that my mom went out, bought the CD for me. She gave it to me and I just listened to it, and I didn't know what to make of it at first. It was much different than Hot Fuss, but then it definitely grew on me and I ended up loving it. Out of all the Killers albums, Sam's Town has the best nostalgia for me because I just remember being in my bedroom by myself, listening to this album and reading the lyrics and just happy times. A time when I didn't have a single care in the world. I was in high school. The only worry I had was exams and tests. That's all I had to worry about. But anyway, let's move on to track number 2, Blowback. Puts out a cigarette and gets on the bus. She's sitting on a secret, but she's breathing the blowback. She's gonna break out, boy, you better know that. It's just a matter of time. Born in the poor white trash and always typecast. Will you stay when she's breathing the blowback again? Oh, you know what? I did really like track number 1, My Own Soul's Warning, but I think I prefer track number 2, Blowback, just a bit more. I always love the production on any Killers album. This one is no exception. I absolutely love it. The harmonies, beautiful. I mean, this jacket's gonna have to come off soon because my body is just reacting the way it should when I listen to a Killers album. It's overheating and my body's just loving this album. But anyway, let's now move on to track number 3, Dying Breed. In my opinion, this album gets better with each track I listen to. Track number 3, Die Breed. I mean, you saw for yourself. I really enjoyed this track, just like the other two. This is why The Killers is one of my favorite bands of all time. The production on each and every one of their albums is just always... It's always a treat to my ears. It's almost impossible for your body to sit still as you listen to this album. I don't know about you, but it's impossible for me to sit still when I listen to this album. Sometimes I don't know what to do. It's like I'm screaming in a dream, can't get through. It's like I can't get through. What if we're not prepared for this? What if we just can't find the trail? Then I remember the promise I made and the way that I fell for the coveted touch of a girl in love. I mean, don't even get me started on Brandon Flowers' voice. I think he has one of the most recognizable and one of the best male voices in music of the 21st century, and that's just my opinion. But anyway, let's move on to track number 4, Caution. I am getting a workout. This yoga ball, I'm just bouncing up and down like a madman. I swear, I'm literally getting high off of this album. Tonight, the winds of change are blowing wild and free. If I don't get out of this town, I just might be the one who finally burns it down. I'm throwing caution, never had a diamond on the sole of her shoes. Just black top, white, trash, straight, out of the news. Brandon's lyrics are always so unique sounding and so creative. For me, that was one of the things that drew me to the Killers initially back in 2004 with their debut album and then Sam's Town. It was their lyrics. They were always, for me anyway, this was back when I was 14 and 16 years old. Their lyrics were so unique sounding to me and so different from all the other bands I was listening to. I mean, don't get me wrong, there were many times where I was listening to a song and I was just kind of scratching my head. What is he saying? But anyway, let's move on to track number 5, Lightning Fields, featuring KD Lang.
Last night I saw you dressed in white. You were standing in the lightning field of love. I just wanted to run my fastest and stand beside you in the lightning field of love. Late at night I lie in bed and think about things left unsaid. Don't beat yourself up, you laid good ground. Look at 'em all from scratch to sundown. You put the work in and then some. There's no end to me. There's no end to you. My fastest and name and race again. Here's my name, but I can't speak your name.
I'm running out of good things to say. I don't care if I'm overreacting. There might be some of you watching this right now who don't like this album. I don't care. I like this album and it's beautiful. This is definitely one of my favorite tracks on the album so far, which is hard to say because I've loved every single one. I can't pick which one is my favorite so far, but Lightning Fields is definitely in the top. And KD Lang, oh, her voice. I think her voice and Brandon Flowers' voice go well together. I'm surprised they didn't collab sooner. It almost seems like a no-brainer. A little unexpected though, because you don't hear a lot about KD Lang, and I feel like a lot of people my age don't know who KD Lang is, but of course I do. I've heard some of her songs here and there. I've never listened to one of her albums, which is sad because she has such a great voice, and this makes me want to check out her discography. I am curious to know how many albums she has in her discography. I wonder if it's a lot or just a few. So it looks like she has 7 studio albums starting in 1988 with Shadowland, and her most recent was 12 years ago in 2008 with Watershed. I think my first introduction to KD Lang was back in 2006 when she had a small uncredited role in the film The Black Dahlia. It says here she was a lesbian bar singer, and I remember hearing her perform in that movie, and she has such a great voice. So I remember, I think, looking her up or whatever. So I think that was the first time I was actually exposed to KD Lang and her voice. But anyway, now let's move on to track number 6, Fire in Bone. Okay, and that was track number 6, Fire and Bone. This was another great song. It's not one of my favorites on the album so far, but I would definitely listen to it again. The production, once again, just like the rest of the album, is top notch and really good. This album is very consistent. I felt Fire and Bone, I felt Misled, I felt Chained Up, Unclean, Unknown, I felt Unknown, I felt Fire and Bone. They say no one's gonna save you, you gotta make it on your own. I do have a confession though. I am getting uncomfortable. I'm getting a bit overheated. I'm wearing this toque. I'm wearing this jacket. We're going through a heat wave outside. It's over 30 degrees. I have to have the air conditioning off because it makes that annoying sound. So I'm just gonna have to start taking some clothes off. This is what happens when I listen to The Killers. I pass out. But let's continue on to track number 7, Running Towards a Place. Okay, and that was track number 7, Running Towards a Place. And I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like the energy on this second half of the album is a bit more, I don't want to say tamer, but it's a bit more calm in my opinion. Which I don't mind at all because I was getting exhausted there. Just bop after bop after bop. I was bouncing around like a crazy man. I was sweating. I almost passed out, honestly. If I walk the wild blue, will you meet me there and shake the lightning from the locks of your unbound hair? Can two become one? Can you see the world in a grain of sand? Can you find heaven in a wildflower? Hold it in the palm of your hand. I have no idea. This is one of those instances where I have to go back and reread the lyrics because I don't really know what he's saying. Obviously, I could probably figure it out once I read it a few more times. Once again, this isn't one of my favorite tracks on the album, but I would definitely listen to it again if I was to listen to the album as a whole once more, which I will obviously do. It's a very consistent album in my opinion. You can have it played in the background if you're cleaning or doing some sort of activity, and you don't have to skip any of the songs because in my opinion, it's just very consistent. But anyway, let's move on to track number 8, My God. Now this track is featuring, I'm sorry if I mispronounce their name, Wise Blood. Weyes. Wise Blood. I'm hoping I pronounced that right. If I didn't, I really do apologize.
Mirage after mirage, crawling back to your arms. Stay from your mouth to my heart. My God, just look who's back in business. That weight that dragged you down, it has been. Don't push, control is overrated.
Okay, and that was track number 8, My God, and this was another good track. I will say this is probably one of the more catchier songs on the album when it comes to the melody. I'm still not enjoying the second half of this album as much as I was the first half, but but I'm still having fun. So leave a comment and tell me which half of the album do you prefer. Do you prefer the first half or the second half? I don't know, to me, the production on the first half is more memorable. So we still have 2 more tracks left on the album. Let's check out track number 9, When the Dreams Run Dry.
Can't hear myself think through the crashing of the rain. You start to wonder about the time theft, how much of it you got left. When the dreams run dry, I will be where I always was. When they're closing up the door, nobody wishing that they would more. Don't bother with your suitcase. Standing at your side. We'll just follow to the stars, to the sun, to the ground, and around. And again, and again, and
Okay, and that was track number 9, When the Dreams Run Dry. And this was really interesting because as I was listening to this track, by the middle part, I wasn't really feeling it, to be honest. I couldn't really get into it. But by the end, the last, I don't know, last minute and a half maybe, I really got into it. So I ended up really liking this track. I think this track, When the Dreams Run Dry, might be my favorite track on the second half of the album. I'm not sure. I'm definitely gonna have to listen to the whole album again. But we have officially come to the end of the album, track number 10, Imploding the Mirage.
I was a timid rock-willing boy. She was tattooed and ready to deploy. But after caution, 'cause something about that yin and the yang was pushing my boundaries out. I wasn't floating no mirage. While you were out there looking like that, struck my name. While you were out there chewing on fat for probable cause.
Alrighty, and that was the final track of the album, Imploding the Mirage. This was a nice way to wrap up the album, and thank God, because I'm out of breath. I'm a little exhausted. I think if it wasn't so hot outside, and if my apartment wasn't so stifling, I would be so exhausted right now, but I really enjoyed this album. I mean, this is one of the reasons why I love doing these first listen videos, because I just get to jam out to my favorite musicians and just get sweaty and I get a workout and it's so much fun. But I sometimes do pay for it at the end, like I am right now. It's not easy sitting on a yoga ball for an hour and a half. But this album was a joy to listen to. The production it was amazing. It met my expectations, and I didn't know what to expect going into this album because I haven't listened to The Killers in quite a while. Like I said, the last Killers album I listened to was Battleborn, and I don't even remember that album. So I can't really compare this album to the rest because I don't actually remember what they sound like. I forget quite a few of the songs. The only album I can really compare this to is their first one, Hot Fuss. Even when I was listening to their music nonstop and I was familiar with all their albums, I still preferred Hot Fuss. Hot Fuss will always be my favorite Killers album. And I can't compare this album to their last album, Wonderful Wonderful, because I haven't listened to it yet, but I do plan on doing a video for that album soon. I don't know when. Like I said multiple times throughout this video already, I do prefer the first half to the second half. I don't know if I'm the only one. Maybe some of you prefer the second half to the first half. Maybe you just prefer the whole album as a whole. Maybe you didn't like this album, maybe you think it's their weakest, let me know why in the comments. And once again, the Killers can never do wrong when it comes to the lyrics. They always have such great lyrics on their albums. And Brandon Flowers' voice is untouchable. And it hasn't changed at all since 2004, in my opinion. I don't know, maybe I have to listen to all their albums in order again. But from my understanding, just from listening to this album, his voice hasn't really changed since 2004. To me, it sounds exactly the same, which isn't a bad thing. And most importantly, in my opinion, this sounds like a Killers album. And so many times you read stories about bands selling out and completely changing up their genre, and it's absolutely disastrous. They lose so many fans and what have you. But I have the impression that the Killers have been very consistent with all their albums from what I remember. I feel like they always stay true to who they are, and they're always genuine in everything they have to say and everything they put out. I mean, you don't read about the Killers being involved in any scandals. You don't read about Brandon Flowers in the news. You don't read about them being involved in controversies and what have you. They're just a solid band, in my opinion, and that's why I love them even to this day. I will always love the Killers until the day I die. So leave a comment, tell me what you thought of the album, what are your impressions, and yes, I think that's officially all I wanted to say. So thanks for watching, guys. You can find me on Instagram, you can find me on Twitter, you can message me, you can tell me other artists I should check out. I'm open to any artists from any decade. You can find me on Apple Music, you can check out my playlists, and so on and so forth. So thanks for watching, and I will see you next time. I need to pass out on my couch. Have a wonderful weekend.